Hello there. It looks like we are live, and it's that time. It's Thursday. It's time for Geek Speak. And today, Greg and we're going to be talking about AI and websites. What are some things that what are our thoughts on it? What are some things you should be looking at? And what are some things and of course, my name is Phelan with Seymour Digital Media.
And I'm Greg with Original 72 Creative.
Awesome. And so
Welcome,
I
welcome.
Yes, welcome. Let me just share this into the group of the business marketing mixer. And so I guess to get started, I guess there's a couple of ones when I was doing some research of aspects that people are going to have for the AI and how it works with their website. Most I found were content related. So a lot
hmm
of like rank math has a whole AI SEO component, which I thought would be something I'm probably going to try out on a website
hmm
to see how that works, because I think that if you are actually taking in information from like Search Console and then doing generative AI off of that with the content that's existing, I think that that's actually like a decent use case, because you have some data that's kind of constraining it and kind of making it act in a more succinct manner than if you're just
hmm
like write me a blog post about XYZ versus like taking the data. Sorry about that. And so there's going to be taking in generative AI that's constrained by Search Console data. Then that's going to be a better fit, I think.
Yeah. Um, is there something specific with that you're using to? Did
Uh,
you did
I
you
haven't.
mention a specific piece of software that's helping with
Yeah,
those
so it's
functions?
Rank Math, the SEO plugin has
hmm
a whole AI component that it integrates Search Console data and Google Analytics data to
Okay.
then, so it's pulling in the keywords on specific pages to then write content for you that's on that page. Like that's what they wrote, is what they were doing.
Right.
Which to me is like it's a good use case of using like an API of Search Console, which their API gives you 16x more data than you get through just going into Search Console. So the API is well worth it for tapping into for that part.
hmm
And so I think that combined with some AI wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for as a use case of how to use this stuff.
Is that AI feature of rank math? I know it's in there. I've never actually played for it because I typically don't get into like the hardcore SEO for clients on sites. We go to typically more dedicated people. Is
Yeah,
that a free feature or is that like the paid
I
version?
think it's paid. So
Yeah,
I might pay for one client just to experiment to see if we
yeah.
can get something good out of that. It's one that I'm generally not a shiny new tool kind of person. I generally am pretty like stick to fundamentals is
hmm
generally how I go. But in this case, that might be worth it to see if it actually does something, because especially if it's used by like a dedicated SEO team and not just someone that's just like, oh, print like a million ebooks or whatever, and they're just putting out slop. If it's actually like trying to be a bit more constructive and taking in data to then make that decision, I think that's a better use case.
Yeah.
And I know that you and I both use Cadence. Have you used the Cadence AI feature at all?
When it first was released, I did experiment with it. Um, Essentially, what its purpose is to start you off with a website. So
Yeah.
you get Cadence installed on WordPress, and then it'll prompt you to like a brand new site, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
It'll prompt you whether or not you want to use the AI to assist you in getting everything. the initial framework set up and things. So it's going to go through questions about what your business name is, what kind of a brief overview of what you do. Ask you, I believe it asks you things like preferences for things that will help it generate like images
Mm-hmm.
from pixels, as a for instance, as it goes through. So you go through these prompts and sort of build out, give it whatever information it asks about your business, and then once that's completed, you hit the button and bang, it generates. I think it generates obviously a home page, an about page, services pages if you specified services, contact, those types of generic pages with context generated for you from text, basically generated for you based on what you've given it. And then, so it creates a look. It creates all of these pages, and then you'll have the ability to um, modify it before it gets published. If there's something that you don't like, you can, I believe, ask it to work on something again or change an image or do certain things until you're happy with what it's given you, and then that then sets and creates the pages on your site with all of that content. And then after that, you have, because it's on WordPress, you have like the full capability of being able to just go to the pages or go to the theme and do whatever tweaks you like. If you didn't like some colors that it chose for you, just go to the color customizer and change away. But it basically gives you a jump start at a complete site with content, um, AI generated for you, and you can work from that base.
Yeah, that makes sense. As like a, I mean, it's good for like a business owner that's trying to like just spin something up quickly. That's not really looking to, uh, not get deeply invested in, try to write out a bunch of content or like have the blank slate of like, yeah, you may change everything about it, but at least you've got something that's not just a blank screen of like start creating a website situation.
Yeah, and then after the initial sites built, there are still AI available things that you can do just on a per page basis. Again, I haven't played around with it a lot, but there's a really good um, block library of pre-made templates that can generate you a new page based on
Hmm.
whether you want a services page or whatever it is. There's templates, pre-made blocks that you can go through, which I think also have the ability to generate some content for you other than just choosing the layout.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's one of those. I think that going to the things that I wish that we had, or I haven't really seen it implemented. I think Unbounce does this, so a landing page builder. But a lot of like landing pages to me felt like that would be a really good use case for an AI. That it just gives you a
Mhm.
bunch of prompts because landing pages, I mean, they're not revolutionary. It's pretty set what will actually get people to sign up for something, to do something. There's pretty uh, as much as we like to say it's going to be non-deterministic, it's usually like has a very set pattern that it follows. Um, and so it's a little surprised that like only Unbounce really had that tool in built that I saw when I was looking around for landing pages. If you know a different one, let me
Mhm.
know because I'm always interested to see about landing page generation for clients, especially if you got something like Google Ads that you're running against, and then you could feed in the data from Google Ads to be like, hey, this landing page for this keyword wasn't working. Let's make a tweak on the landing
Mhm.
page. And as you're getting like data about like, oh, it's got a poor landing page experience. Okay, let's improve it by like creating a new landing page with this specific keyword. and kind of generating that way. It's also, I think that, going off of that, one thing that I was also surprised with, it's only recent, is that Microsoft Clarity has built an integration with Google Ads. So
Hmm.
landing page, your landing pages, now you can see screen recordings based on specific campaigns. And so that's one that I think is going to be really powerful, especially as, there's going to be, you know, you're trying to figure out why people aren't doing things on your landing pages when you're driving ad traffic to it. And so this will give you some more insights to campaign level of each one. And so I think that that's going to be a really powerful tool in the future, because I
Hmm.
think that a lot of those, a lot of the Microsoft Clarity recordings are kind of samey, and so, but that's actually I think good for an AI to go over, right? Because it's a really good, it's a regression model, right? Like it finds little patterns that you may not even recognize, and so that would be, to my mind, a really good, powerful tool if you had your Microsoft Clarity working with your landing page builder and working with your Google Ads. So you have all three of those talking together, and then AI just reduces down this large table set that you've given it of like of this campaign with these keywords went to this landing page that this is the recordings of. How could we make improvements? And then that would be, to my mind, something where an AI tool would be actually pretty powerful.
Yeah, the analytical options for AI to assist you with, figuring things out and
Mm-hmm.
really learning, getting deep into, what works, what doesn't work on your site, or
Yeah.
whatever it is you're trying to analyze is really really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah, because that's what it's built to do is regress. Like it takes the whole internet and then it regresses down. That's what makes the content. Is it just says 60% of the time when this word is said in this context, the next word is this, right? That's how it comes up with content generation. Is that because it's just a like an averaging machine, and
Hmm.
so, but if you're doing an average where your table set is, or the opposite of what are the outsiders that are happening, or when people did actually click to fill out the form, what were the things that also, like, what are the trend lines of people that did convert?
Hmm.
These are all things that it's actually pretty good for finding. So I think that that's a good tool. I mean, I wish I had the time to go build something like that. I just just don't. I've already got.
That's one of the things that's frustrating about all these new things is, yeah, like you just wish you had more time to play around with these tools, but
Yeah.
we're all so busy and focused on doing client work that that extra time often doesn't come as much as you'd like it to be able to play around and learn a
Yeah.
lot of this stuff.
Well, and yeah, it's and also like a complicated tool like that is just like you need like a few people to build something out like that, to like have like these API endpoints all kind of talking to each other and working well.
Hmm.
It's one of those like it 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 not only does it sound complicated, it is complicated. And so I think that that's a big one as well. But yeah, it's one that uh, I mean, I was gonna build something like an integration with the Google Ads and Microsoft Clarity. I was looking at that because I thought that would be a really powerful tool. I was just happy that Microsoft did build it, so I didn't have to like think of how to actually connect their API endpoint to a Google Ads endpoint.
Right.
So that was a big relief on my end. I just think that expanding these tools out further, right? Because really the most powerful thing you can do is connect a lot of large data sets and then use those to improve your overall ad spend and make sure that your landing pages are converting at the rate that you're expecting them to, or your website.
Would this be, were you considering, that kind of a thing just to be like reporting based to know information or to actually be able to uh, modify campaigns based on the data of clarity and seeing, patterns of users and what they're doing?
Yeah, what basically my idea that I had was that you're taking your Microsoft Clarity and what you're doing is you're trying to line up as much of what the Google ads that I'm bidding on, to match that with the landing page. And if there's a keyword that comes through and a UTM parameter, like, because you can set those, I have a script that runs that basically sets all the UTM parameters, like keyword, campaign, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that run, and so you can get data that, oh, this keyword that's coming in the UTM parameter in the Microsoft Clarity, when we analyze it, that keyword doesn't get the conversions, but this other keyword does get the conversions. That's happening on that side. And then, just looking at, it's mostly to do landing page improvements, because I find that that's the hardest one, because you have to like intuit how people are using your website. Whereas if you have, tons of like 100 videos of, people just going through the landing page and whether they
Mm-hmm.
converted or not, but you have some sort of video that goes with it, and then you can match it with some sort of data that's happening with the ads to make sure that the messaging lines up the whole way through, and that, if there's any sort of drop off and what's the keyword that's dropping people off, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just in a, in an age where cost per clicks are still going up, and there's no way that they're going to go down. Trying to get
Mm-hmm.
as much squeeze out of the client's budget and getting as many conversions as we can. Because I can get good click through rates. The harder one for me is making sure we get good conversion rates consistently. That's always a tough one. And it's one that's a little more amorphous, right? Like, I've got a landing page, it should have these keywords on it, and people aren't converting. And so figuring out the why is always a tough one. So I was looking for any tool that could help me with that part as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, a little bit of a change here. What was your thoughts on? There's a couple of available like chatbots that you could install for WordPress, for instance. What are your thoughts on AI chatbots just in general? I know we had a couple, maybe 6 or 8 months ago, a scenario where a woman on a chat was told that she would be able to get her bereavement flight, 50% bereavement flight or something, just book it.
Yeah,
And then the airline
Air Canada.
um,
It was Air.
needed to have it, you had to organize it before, not just book your flights and then try to claim it after. And there was the chat bot for the airline, basically gave her the wrong information. So, do you have thoughts or of anything on
So
chatbots? People using chatbots and
I've seen it out in the wild for a couple people, like Flywheel's big with using them. Um, they're um, so my feelings with automated chatbots generally is that when I'm using them as like an end user and I'm just going to use it, they assume that I haven't, like, because I'm more self starter, right? Like, I'm gonna go through the help docs myself. I'm gonna find, like, try everything. If I'm
yeah.
contacting you, I'm contacting you because everything else you've given me thus far has not resolved my issue. Because I
Hmm.
don't, and so I find that and it's not, it's just a natural thing of having those chatbots, is that they try to offload you to help docs. And so that's kind of, and even ones that are really smart, like the Zendesk, because what they do is you take your help docs and they train your chatbot off of your help docs. So, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. It's just, if I'm getting a hold of you, it means that I need someone that has I need a person that has technical know-how, because I've exhausted all my options.
Hmm.
I've also really ironically found this is just really good advice if you're contacting Facebook, especially with anything like ads related or business related. Do not give the chatbot any answers. Tell them other or I don't know. If you do that, you will get through to a person.
Oh.
Yeah, if you give them any answer of like, oh, I tried this, or like, give me some help docs. No, that didn't help. If you do any other path, they will offload you into the help docs and not send you to a person. But if
Mm-hmm.
you answer I don't know or other, and just that's your only answer the whole way through, they just will spit you out to a person.
Mm-hmm.
So there's situations like that.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so there's situations like that. Um, I've even used ones where it was like AWS is chatbot was like entirely useless, which like was very disappointing because I don't I don't know if you ever used AWS, but it's like a very intimidating platform where they have like literally 160 different services as part of this,
Yeah.
and they're like the naming conventions are just like there's butterfly and cluster, and you're like, okay, but what is like I don't know which one of these I'm supposed to use to do what, and the AI just kind of goes yep, and was very for something that should have been more technically uh, skilled. It was
Yeah.
very unskilled, and so that was very frustrating because that to me is a really because like I've used AI for coding and writing scripts because that's a really good use case because the the AI knows the coding language and the syntax,
Hmm.
which is the thing I get annoyed with that I hate learning is that I need to have
Hmm.
this, this, and this, write it this way. So it knows the language. I know which thing I need it to do. Like I know what the function needs to do with what inputs, and so I can tell it, "Hey, write me a JavaScript function that does this." And they go, and they can write it. It actually works pretty well because basically you're just kind of piloting it to tell it do these things, and it knows within the syntax of that language how to write that code. So that's actually like a good use case, which made me very disappointed about the Amazon AWS chatbot that it like they had an opportunity to make this thing this wildly giant platform and kind of make it more manageable,
Hmm.
and they just didn't do that. And so I was a little disappointed because that feels like a really good use case. Same for Google Cloud, like their really advanced platform for like hosting code and stuff like that.
Hmm.
The chatbot was very underwhelming for that, which again it feels like a really good use case where you can synthesize a lot of deep technical knowledge and then make it something that people can understand or make it
Hmm.
usable. And they just didn't do that, and so it's a little, it feels like a missed opportunity overall. Like, uh, so it's definitely one. Um, there's some situations out there that I feel like they could make more improvements. Another one uh, that I was trying to find the business. We were talking about this, or I was telling you this a little bit before, but there was a company that used to run a CDN, so they were like a like your Cloudflare, but they
Hmm.
did it. They came at it from the perspective of an SEO, and so they would take your page titles and meta descriptions and test them out in real time to see what got more clicks. And
Hmm.
so, because they were the ones, the intermediary between your website and them, and they could access your Search Console data, they could make in real time updates to page titles, meta descriptions to get you more clicks. Which I thought something like that would be really good with an AI. Again, it's has constraints from the machine, like the data inputs that it's getting to actually make
Hmm.
improvements.
Hmm.
So I thought something like that would be kind of cool as well. But I could not find the business. Of course, it was like 6 years ago, 5 years ago when I last heard about them. So they may not be around anymore. It's tough to say, or they may have been bought and integrated. A lot of there's still a lot of aqua hires, right? Acquisition hires, where you're
Hmm.
like, it's just cheaper for us to just buy this company and just integrate it in, and then we get a bunch of really good devs for a year.
Yeah.
It's very common practice with, the tech, San Francisco and Silicon Valley strategies of just buy people out because there's a lot more money than there is talent right now out there. Especially what is it? Apple's sitting on like $1 trillion or some $500 billion, something like insane like that. That they're just sitting on it. It's all just like kept up in Irish banks because they don't have to pay taxes on it,
Right.
and so they've got like, you have all this money and you can't think of anything to do with it. It's yeah, it's
Interesting.
yeah,
And this is all because there's not enough um, talent out there to work on. Like they're not using it because they don't
there's
have enough. There's
there's
not
no
enough talent out there to be able to be like, oh, this is what we want to work on next, and
yeah
get a
there's
team to use that money to develop something new yet.
yeah there's no vision right now. If you notice, like Silicon Valley is like really spun out. right? Like, there's no serious innovations that have come out from any of like social media platforms. Google's stagnated. They wanted to try and take on TikTok with YouTube Shorts. Meta is floundering ever since the metaverse. That was their next big thing. They have like a partnership with Ray-Bans to try to do a new Google Glass, but like Meta had to take their name off of it because of the brand backlash. Like the Apple, they released that Vision Pro, which is an over-engineered nightmare that still costs like a small fortune that no one's. I doubt they're going
I
to
wonder
use.
if part of the problem right now is that because the emergence of AI, people are not exactly sure what to work on next because you don't maybe exactly know what the capabilities of the AI will will have soon. So why work on something that AI may like render it null and void because AI can do it for you or something like that.
Yeah, I also think in the last bit as well, the imaginations of people in Silicon Valley, right? Their VCs or venture capitalists are looking for a thing to park their money in, and that's why you had crypto blow up in 2020 to 2022, and then that went to NFTs the next year, and then multiverse or the metaverse was the next year, and now we're on
Mhm.
AI as the next thing that they're trying to make go past the bounds, but they're unfortunately going to run into the hard limitation that there's to do what AI boosters say would mean that we would need to build 50 to 100 nuclear reactors to do what they want to do. We would need to quintuple the number of hard drive space to do what they want to do. We would need to so we would need to for the AI we would need to generate more power than humanity's ever generated ever. It's by like several factors. Like it's
Mhm.
just like there's physical limitations. It's also AI gives is they haven't they tried to constrain it and not have it feed itself off of other AI stuff, but that's slipped the container. So that means that it gives itself dementia, right? Because it's basically literally giving itself like mad cow disease, where it's like eating itself, and it's
Yeah.
like it's getting like I mean it like almost sarcastically, but it's also serious that it's like it actually has given itself bovine spongiform encephalopathy, as in it's like eaten itself, and because it's eaten itself, it's like continuing to repeat, and that's literally giving yourself dementia. So there's
Hmm.
like a hard limit, and that's another reason why there's like things about like next big sources of data that Oracle's going after as well. Like they're trying to get a connection to every camera on the planet and then feed it into the AI.
Well,
Well, I mean, Larry Ellison says that's what they're going to do, but there's like there's a lot of hard limitations on. There's only so much data that you can get. There's a reason why Amazon, the number one way that they transport data, like for the NSA or someone, is that it comes in pallets of hard drives, because
wow.
it's faster to drive it in a truck with 50. It's what is it? They carry 5 petabytes in this 18-wheeler, and they will drive it from like Utah to California for analysis, and that's faster than
Yeah.
it going through on an internet connection, because there's just a physical limit on how much data you can move.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I never even thought about that. But yeah, the sheer amount of data, it would there would be a point where it's just easier to
transport
shift
it,
the data over on a hard
which is
drive.
the greatest
For sure.
irony ever. Because do
Yeah.
you know why we invented the internet?
Just well, yeah, to stop to drive everything online and not have physical.
No, it was they got tired of transporting 56 megabytes of data physically from one plant in Pasadena to Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So they invented the internet so that they were sick and tired of printing it out and physically moving it over and then putting that back in. So they made a way that the two servers could talk to each other. That's how it was
Hmm.
invented, was to get around doing the thing that now we're doing, because there's too much data that they have to transport it physically. It's like a
Yeah.
beautiful irony that's just flipped on itself. Wow, I didn't expect
Well,
that to.
we we're actually at time here, but I did want, if you want to do an extra couple minutes here,
Yeah,
want
for
to
sure.
ask about image AI generating and whether you guys are using anything specific these days or
Yeah,
anything like.
yeah. We have one that I actually like, and it's because it doesn't do images.
Hmm.
I mean, it does image generation, but I wouldn't call them like images, like couple standing in a living room. It's like it does graphs and like kind of graphical representations of the thing that we're talking about in the blog post.
Right. Yeah, I think I know which one you're
Uh,
talking about,
it's called
maybe, but I don't
Napkin
remember.
AI, is what. Uh,
Yes, I think I have tried that one. Yeah.
yeah, I like that one. I find that it actually does a pretty decent job
Hmm.
of because it basically doesn't try to do too much with the image.
Hmm.
The AI image. Oh, go ahead.
I myself have not used a lot of image AI specific for any projects, but I've been playing around with some of the free ones that I've had access to just personally, like Dolly. Obviously,
Yeah,
I've played around with Gemini to try to generate some stuff. And Canva has some interesting AI options in it as well. But yeah, I'm not yet ready to use AI for clients' websites. And so, what's your thought on actually using it like
uh,
for websites and things?
I'm always the problem is like we're too good at immediately spotting what's an AI image,
Hmm.
and it hasn't been able to get over the slightly unreality, like the uncanny valley part, where it's like it's close enough, but it's also not close, so that you go it kind of throws you off. Um,
Hmm.
that's kind of where I'm at with it as a general using it. Do I think that there isn't like a use case? I think that it's again like to my mind the AI image thing that actually like made sense was Photoshop doing like little infill sections or expand out this image. To me,
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
that made sense, and I get why people were scared about that, because apparently a lot of people, that was bread and butter for Photoshop people, is to kind of like fix this section or extend this out, and that kind of makes sense why people are nervous about it, which I totally get, and why
Mhm.
also it makes sense as a thing that, you know, using this one image extend out a little bit more. That makes more sense than like creating whole cloth. I feel like that is it's always going to lead to weird images.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all that. I think over time, as they get as they get better, I'll probably use them more and do. One last thing I want to say is I get really annoyed when I see stock photography sites like iStock
Mm,
have photo options that are AI generated options.
yeah,
Um,
it's
because basically people are like generating images and then like posting them to make money off of them on these stock photography sites, and that for some reason that really annoys me.
well, it just seems like a I don't know, like a I don't know the right word for it, but it yeah, it rubs me the wrong way in the sense, especially when it's like stock, iStock or one of those companies feeding your stock images that you work to get into there to generate more images, and it just
Hmm.
sort of feels like I don't know, like it. Not it, yeah, it kind of rubs me the wrong way of just um yeah, like almost like cheating the trust of the people who made those stock images in a lot of ways, to like then like get a second bite at the apple, right, where it's like not
Yeah.
only you got it the first time for the regular stock images, you're also now selling AI versions of their stock images.
Yeah.
uh, so yeah,
Oh, well, I think we should probably wrap up there.
yeah, for sure. uh, okay, so do we know what next week is?
We do. Next week is going to be actually it's going to be the three of you as it shows, Phelan, yourself, Pip, and Rena as well. for mobile first marketing strategies for 2025.
Okay, awesome.
I need
Uh,
to update the banner because it actually says 2024.
oops. Uh, yeah,
Whoops.
we'll fix that. Okay, that sounds good.
So come back in time with us for
Yeah,
marketing strategies of 2024.
exactly, exactly. All right, we'll leave it there. My name's Phelan.